Film Slash Crew review. Stephen
The
King's
Shining 2.
Dr. Sleep.
Stephen King's personal doctor.
Hey team, Angus Strachan here, and welcome to the
Film Slice podcast.
I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Kane Diggly Wiggly Kane Dogs.
Thank you.
And the man formerly known as Brody Doo Broadman Richards. This week, he is known as...
Dr. Wake!
Dr. Wake.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought I heard something else.
You didn't hear that? And I don't know what it was, but from your facial expression, it wasn't good.
Dr. Wake. Sweet. This week, we are, in fact, reviewing Dr. Sleep.
We are.
Stephen
I feel like I
King's
should be
story.
Professor Wake.
Kane Dogs, whip out that IMDb summary for us.
Oh, I will. Years following the events of The Shining, a now adult Dan Torrance must protect a young girl with similar powers from a cult known as the True Knot, who prey on children with powers to remain immortal.
Cool. When did you see the movie? What did you think?
When did you see the movie? What did you think?
Do you like the movie?
None of the shit.
When you see the movie, this bit is pointless.
We all saw the movie together just then.
We now.
Just came out of the film.
Yep.
We did, and we all watched The Shining 1 because
Yes.
it's integral that we see this as a
I had
sequel.
never seen
like
The
it is.
Shining, and we were going to do it this week,
Yep.
and I was like, probably should watch that film. It is a very well-known, well-loved film. Probably should watch that before I see the second one.
My thoughts completely.
Would have been really good to get an invite to that, lads. Would have been really nice to get an invite.
Yeah.
Or if we'd done it on a day that I wasn't at work.
I got an invite, so I'm happy.
It did actually feel really nice when Brody invited me. So it was. You're right. It was. It does feel nice to get an invite. So anyway, so we saw the first one straight before this one. And what did you think? We can definitely still do that.
I think that Dr. Sleep is very much a sequel to The Shining.
100%.
It is not a standalone film. It is not a reboot.
100%.
If you haven't seen The Shining, or you haven't watched The Shining in a while, definitely watch The Shining before going to see this movie.
You do not know what's going on.
No.
But also, I wouldn't recommend watching The Shining right before the sequel. Because there were so many things in there which were like throwbacks, but also they weren't exactly right.
It was weird. I'm glad we watched it right beforehand.
Yeah.
Because there were so many moments where I was just like, that's awesome. Like, it was like shot for shot, kind of like, like plate, like exactly like a plate taken from the original movie.
Yeah.
But then there were also so many things that were like, ugh. Just because like we knew exactly what the actors looked like, exactly what certain things looked like. And it was just weird when they tried to recreate them and they didn't quite nail it. And
they
then
didn't quite do it 100%. They didn't go 100% for it. They're just like, this is close enough. And
but
kind
definitely, if you haven't watched The Shining in 10 years or something, watch it before you go see this film.
100%.
If you're going to see this film, which I think you'll find out in the next thing.
Ooh.
I
Mystery.
haven't seen The Shining in about 10 years, and I remember being real bored because back then I was, like 14 or something. So
you had seen The Shining?
I have seen The Shining, but
because I thought you came into this movie not seeing it at all. I'm like, that's going to be really interesting.
No, I had seen it, but I only remember parts of it. But I don't remember a lot of what this movie is about. I don't remember that having anything to do with The Shining. I thought it was real boring, if I'm honest. I can see how it's well made. There's a lot of this that looked stylistically the cinematography was really beautiful. And I did recognize some scenes or some shots that did look familiar from The Shining. But as a story, I found it to be quite slow and
dull.
dry. Yeah.
Sweet. Lads, you know how every week I put up on Instagram what movie we're reviewing, and I ask our slicers out there, our lovely listeners, to chuck their thoughts in so we can chuck it up on the podcast.
Yep.
And usually no one replies. Well, guess what?
What?
We got some.
Ooh.
We went fishing and we caught a bite. So we've got from not.filmslash.host. Long time caller in says, what did the doctor say to the sleeping man? Question mark.
Did he say wake up? Did he just say wake up?
Replying to that is Hooverman91, another long time listener, says at not.filmslash.host. What? Question mark.
Yeah, it makes sense. He's asking.
Yeah, looks like not.filmslash.host has
This
caught
is
a fish.
the driest segment, thanks to Brody's very dry jokes.
Then we've got replying to that, not.filmslash.host says at Hooverman91, wake up.
Yeah. That's what Jordan said.
I could have guessed that.
Hooverman91 says at
This makes me feel like Jordan is not.filmslash.host.
Well, there you go.
I might look into that.
Look into that. Speaking of looking into other things, cane dogs. Look into Facebook.
Speaking of looking into other things,
anyone
cane dogs.
Looked into you on Facebook?
Well, no, but
FBI?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I got a call from long-time listener Kirby Hines.
Got it.
Kirbs?
So you've surpassed Facebook. Facebook's not good enough for you anymore. You got to go straight to
I'll
call.
circle back to Facebook.
Right.
Was she enthusiastic?
She called me being like, hey, I thought I'd talk to you about Dr. Sleep. And I was like...
It sounds like she should curb her enthusiasm.
Hey.
And I hadn't seen it. So I was like, I'm seeing it tomorrow. And then tonight, going to the movie, I was like, I'll text her for her to text me back her review of the film. And I was like, what do you think of Dr. Sleep? And then she called me and I missed her call because I was in the film. And then I tried to call her back. But so, no. I mean, we'll never know.
you got nothing.
Somewhere she's there being like, I tried to call you and I tried... But we'll never know.
Cool. Well, that's good. Anyone hit you up on Facey?
No.
No, cool.
No.
Broman.
Yeah, so for the last couple of weeks, I've been jumping, I've been hopping, I've been dancing around all the different social medias. I was on Twitter.
Yep.
Then I was on SoundCloud last week,
something
which
else.
many of you haven't heard a single thing actually back from last week, so I have no idea if you liked that or not.
I do have a few things actually to bring up in this moment.
Give me 1 second because I actually have a feeling we have gotten some comments on SoundCloud and they're very funny and I want to share them with you.
While Angus brings that up.
Yeah, you go.
Jordan, what have you heard?
Well, I just noticed that out of the friends that I do have, believe it or not, that I have told or asked to have a listen to our podcast, none of them have said anything positive about anything until I told them that there was a rap. And all of them have been like, you guys should just do a rap. And what's annoying about that is I wasn't in the rap. So what's happened is more or less all of my friends have just said this. I'd listen to this if A, you weren't in it, and B, it wasn't what you guys usually do.
If A, you weren't in it, and B, it was 10 times shorter.
And B, it was shorter and not about the stuff that you usually do.
Did you want to read them out, seeing as it's SoundCloud? Because they're legit.
Kind of makes sense
Or
what
is
Brody
it-
does.
Yeah.
It's sort of
I'll
the
read it.
only thing Brody has
Hang
to
on.
do.
Me and Angus need to do a bit of a switcheroo here.
They nearly both collided heads immediately.
Okay.
Oh,
Man, this microphone is so low. Okay, so we have 2 comments on SoundCloud.
This
The
is
first
exciting.
one is from I'm a Pabiximum 79.
I don't know if we can use
That's
that.
pretty much it. Such shot, many shape, so bold. I have so many viewers, I'll post your song. DM me fast. My Instagram in my bio. Fuck yeah.
so for context, this is on
context,
the...
I'm Biggie D. This is Little J.
No, this
Little
is...
J? Little D.
Little D.
is
No, we
no
got
D.
Little J from. These comments are on the Terminator app. So we put up just the Terminator app,
Yeah.
and these are the comments from there.
So just again to clarify, the most positive feedback we've ever gotten is on something that A, I'm not in, and B, something that has very little to do with our podcast.
Look, I didn't put it like that.
But it's
Okay.
it's not wrong.
And then the next one's from Marco M. North. And they say, Film Slice podcast, man. Yo, man, this is so good. Just needs more attention. DM us on Instagram. He wrote Instagram, strangely, but yeah. I'll help run a major music page there. I'll post you. Love heart. Fuck yeah, man. We're going to be fucking rappers.
We're going to be famous.
Little D. Little D.
What?
I'm going to start my own thing. Neither of you are invited. But also, Angus, can I borrow your recording gear?
Wow, the only 2 comments are from people that just want to host us on Instagram.
Like, full on legit. Definitely suss it out. Head on to SoundCloud.
Yeah.
What? Hold on. What I love is that the rap that you have is just a picture of both of you. I'm not even in it.
Yeah, I did.
You've cropped me out of the image. You've cropped my head out and you've posted something from a podcast.
You said you didn't want to be a part of it.
So Angus has taken our Film Slice podcast image of the 3 of us and just cropped Jordan out of it. And it's just a picture of me and him, of Biggie D and Lil D.
Oh, that hurts. Oh,
Sorry.
Man, that's great. That's amazing.
it's like an album cover as well.
Well, anyway, this week, I'm not doing SoundCloud, but we got there were some great comments. This week, I've been going through the different social medias, and I was thinking real hard about which one to choose. And so I've chosen Pinterest for this week.
Oh, very good.
And they say a picture paints 1,000 words.
That's true. So what
Did you post a picture?
What have you put on?
Okay,
No.
he's shaking his head.
Yeah, you haven't. Well, that's good. So
there's my picture.
Follow us.
There's my picture. Pet's 1,000 words, so I don't really need to say anymore.
That makes sense. I understand this movie so much more now. Thank you for that great insight.
I'm
so
still
I guess
just
follow
cut
us,
that I was cut
follow
out
us
of
on
the thing.
Pinterest.
Yeah, follow us
I
on
guess.
Pinterest.
What's our handle on Pinterest?
At Biggie D, at Lil D, at no one else.
Man, shots are getting fired today.
I don't even know if you can get at on Pinterest, but sure.
All right, let's move
real
on.
deep.
Let's move on. Would you recommend it? Who would you recommend it to? I'm just going to go out and say that I would recommend this to anyone that has seen The Shining and liked The Shining, because I think that's
I don't think
fine.
you'll enjoy this as much as The Shining.
No,
if you've got a nostalgic enjoyment of it.
especially if you haven't watched it right before the film. As I
I
said
feel like
earlier.
this was an entertaining flick, and there was a lot in this, and it wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. There were a few kind of stylistic changes. Probably a lot more jump scares, I'd say.
Yeah.
Than the first one. It was kind of more up to date style.
Well, I think they were
of
going
film.
off what people think they remember The Shining as.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly,
Whereas
yeah.
like they think they remember it's like as this really scary film. It's like we watched that this afternoon, and
Yeah.
it wasn't scary very much.
I laughed at a few
very much
things.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think
But it is
they tried to amp up
Yeah.
the jump scares and the.
But we
like,
did
kind of the
we did find
terror.
out it's from 1980, so that's a long time. That's almost 40 years.
And this was released on its 39th anniversary. The
That's
big
it, the
39.
special one.
Big 39, the
Special-
special 39.
Yeah.
39th anniversary. Diggity.
Yeah, look, I think if you haven't seen The Shining, I'm basically going to review this from a perspective of someone that hasn't, because I only remember a handful of moments from it. And this, in my brain, I couldn't find many connections to be made within the story itself, just a lot of the reminiscent visuals from the hotel. And from that perspective, this film doesn't do a lot. It's got some interesting stories, but it didn't capture me at any point in time. So
Yeah.
I guess, I'm taking your word for it. If you've seen The Shining, see this, or maybe if you've read the book, this might also be good. I don't know.
No
Yeah.
idea.
I haven't seen the book, Broadman.
I haven't seen the book
I haven't seen the book.
I haven't seen.
None of
I
us
haven't
have seen the book.
Yeah.
That's what you do with books, right? No,
We couldn't even judge
Broadman
it by
The
the
last
cover.
book I watched was.
didn't do much.
No,
didn't do
no.
much. No, Broadman, you were saying beforehand.
Oh yeah,
that,
yeah. I was saying. So basically, the people who really liked the book of The Shining weren't too happy with Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of the film The Shining back in like 1980 or whenever
Yep.
it came out. And so, like Stephen King, like 20 years later or something like that, wrote a sequel to The Shining called Doctor Sleep, which is what this film is based on. But then this film is based on that book, but this film is also very much a sequel to the original Shining. And so they were trying to grab the
Two audience.
the two audiences, yeah. So it was like, it's going to be a bit of a weird film.
Be interesting. If you are a fan of the book and not a fan of the first one, definitely write us in on
Yeah.
Pinterest. That'd be great.
Yeah.
We
Candos.
did just get a text.
super.
At least I got a text. From Mum and Dad. Just says, hope you're having a nice... No, I'm kidding. From Kirby Hines. And it says...
I got a text from my girlfriend, actually. It says, it's over, fuck you. Oh, never mind.
Hang on a second, I just got to text Angus's girlfriend.
I just got a text... I just got a text from Angus's
I'm
girlfriend too.
I'm totally, I'm 100% kidding about that. That was just for comedic effect.
I mine too. Anyway, text from Kirby Hines. It says, Dr. Sleep was pretty decent sequel. I found it interesting and the plot wasn't too predictable for a suspense thriller, except it probably went for about 25 to 30 minutes too long. All in all, a 7 out of 10.
Was a long movie. We found out that... Oh, sorry.
She also says, look forward to listening to the Film Slice podcast.
Oh,
That's a
very nice.
lie. But look, we really appreciate the
I think she means
enthusiasm.
watching.
Yeah, she means-
looks forward to watching the Films Last podcast. So
She looks forward to listening to the rap. Whatever rap you put out this week, she looks forward to that.
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, cool. I think we should head on into spoilers.
Oh, what a cool sound effect, Angus.
All right, we are in the spoiler section where we dissect and divulge everything about the film. Look out, we'll murder you with an axe.
Oh,
All
why'd
right.
you point? Why'd you just only to me?
X,
then?
X,
Just-
X. X
I
in your
just
face.
figured you'd be the one to do it. You know, you're our like kind of roadie kind of guy.
You're a resident psycho with an axe.
Cinema Dicks, anyone going to call
Cinema
out
Dick.
some people?
Look, I had to go to the bathroom, so I'm assuming Brody's going to call me up for that.
Nah, that doesn't sound like something I'd do.
I mean, cool.
Long-time listener. I don't think she probably hasn't listened to it. Good old Mol Mol, friend of all of ours. She She called up during the viewing of the first Shining film. Had to give it a pause. Had to have a chat.
I don't think I want this on the podcast.
Want this? She called up to see what toilet paper Angus wanted to buy.
Look,
they had an in-depth conversation.
Not all toilet papers are the same, okay? I like a specific brand because they're the softest and the bestest. And other toilet papers just hurt.
You're an asshole.
Such a loose connection.
Yeah, I barely got there.
Like, what
was sad is it took me about 3 minutes. It took me
all fucking toilet bowl.
Toilet paper, and from there,
man. Yeah. Okay, well, let's just wipe the slate clean and get back onto this.
Or wipe something clean. I do have a cinema dick. I don't know if you realize this. I actually have two. Oh. One, there was a moth. Yes, there was a moth in the cinema.
There was a number of moths,
which sucked because in the movie there's a lot of bugs. Yeah. Like there's like scenes with like flies and stuff like that. I'm like, what? I'm seeing dead people.
Angus is being jump scared by moths.
I'm fucking shining. That and
I'm shining. Angus has the shining.
I just shined myself.
He's so shiny.
That and it was very hard to hear, but one of the speakers actually wasn't working right, and it was kind of crackling. I don't know if you guys heard that at all.
I didn't know.
Nah, it just...
Oh, added to the experience for me.
Sounded
Angus
rubbish.
being scared by moths added to the experience.
So, Cinema Dick?
It actually wasn't a speaker. It was just a guy in the background just going...
Cinema Saint, whoever released all those moths. Really added to the film. Yeah. Cinema Dick, I wanted to have a bit of a snack, so I got a popcorn and a drink. And then I was like, And she was like, the woman behind the counter was like, oh, we have a deal. You can get a cornetto with this. And I was like, absolutely. And she was like,
yeah,
but
and if you remember a couple of podcasts ago when Jordan wanted a cornetto and he couldn't get one, he got a phonetto, which was like a chop top.
This is becoming like my mission is just to get a cornetto without having to go.
I tried to buy cornettos the other week when I was hanging out with little Angmen and couldn't find cornettos.
Yeah,
couldn't find
they almost don't exist anymore.
This time I got a cornetto mini. They gave me a mini cornetto, which I didn't know existed, but it was basically half a cornetto.
Yeah,
and you know what? I felt somewhat unsatisfied.
it was
small.
Half.
I feel like I could have eaten I reckon I could have eaten two of them.
And as Jordan just chowed down on that little C, I was just like, man, should have went to Specsavers.
That's great connection there.
Not sponsored, we just want to be.
All right, let's get into it. Most positive thing about the film. Cane Dogs, would you like to tee us off?
Yep.
Golf, like in the film.
That's one.
Yep. I really liked, what's his face? Ewan McGregor. I really liked him as a character, and I found him to do a good job with the material he was given. I didn't find that his character was given a lot to do in terms of being enjoyable or charismatic on the screen, but he took very little and made it very interesting to watch. So he's my biggest positive. That, and I thought this film looked really beautiful. We've talked on this podcast before that there's not enough films shot in the snow, and it tends to be quite a captivating sort of visual. So I really enjoyed a lot of the cinematography.
Footprint thing is amazing. Footprint thing from the first one, I was like, this is awesome. Great idea. Snow. The snow amplified the story. And in this one, it was kind of more of just a hugging back to the first one.
Yeah,
but I still like the snow.
Yeah,
very
100%.
Isolating.
Definitely agree. Much like the first one. The first one cinematically was quite gripping as well, even though it was 40 years old. Sorry, 39. Breadman.
I really liked all the bits that got the referencing back to the first one correct. So all of the bits, I loved the look of the hotel. There was even a shot from there which it felt like it was a shot from the original film. And when it was kind of a few of the lights were on, the snow was all the way up. It was earlier on in the film where I think he was just dreaming or thinking of the hotel or whatever like that. Really loved all that stuff. I loved most of the stuff in the hotel. Thought that was kind of cool. The weird ghost creature things that are in the hotel. Loved a lot of those. All of that sort of stuff I really liked. I liked the callback of Red Rum, stuff like that. I thought it was good. Yeah, I thought those moments were great.
Definitely, yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree with Cane Dogs. Ewan McGregor did a bang-up job. Flashbacks, there were flashbacks and then homages to the original film. There were quite a lot that they used, which was good, I guess. I don't think they kind of pandered to it because there was a lot of kind of unspoken. It wasn't like, remember this in the first one? Well, we're doing that.
It was
again.
just like it just showed you something that was from the first one, and it expected you either you'd get this or you don't.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't pander the audience at all, which is which was really
who wants to watch a film with a bunch of pandas?
A bunch of pandas, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have minded a bunch of pandas. Anyway,
I wasn't sure whether I enjoyed this at the start or not, but later towards the end, I actually enjoyed that this one was kind of more supernatural. The first one, it leaves a lot up to your own mind, and like it could have happened, or they might have just gone crazy. Like it might have just been cabin fever.
See,
we don't know.
That's how I always remember The Shining as just a story about a guy who goes crazy. Which is why this movie was really weird, because it was like, oh, he's got supernatural powers, and I was like, I thought The Shining was just about a dude who goes crazy.
Yeah, well,
where the fuck did all this shit come from?
Well, Danny has The Shining in the first one, where he can feel things, and he can like.
See, I don't remember any of that. That's
he can like hear people's thoughts, and he can see like dead people, stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I felt like if we didn't watch the first one and then this one, the sequel, Doctor Sleep, I feel like all of that supernatural stuff would have been really jarring. Because I feel like the first one was kind of like the slow build-up of supernatural, which just continued the build-up in this one. If you would just watch this one by itself, there is so much supernatural shit flying all over the place in this one.
Yeah.
I felt like it would have been really jarring. It was like, oh, I guess they've all got magic and they've all magical powers and stuff. Whereas in the first one, it was very, very gradual. Yeah. Like, here's a little bit of like supernatural, here's a little bit of supernatural, here's a little bit more, blah, blah, blah. And then like towards the end, it gets like really, really like heavy on the supernatural.
Yeah.
And then this one was just kind of like, first scene, heavy on the supernatural.
Yeah.
A bunch of people like eat.
You didn't believe us,
like,
but it is.
Eat a ghost or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. But I like after thinking about it, I actually really enjoyed that because if it was more of the same from the first one, I probably would have gotten bored. But because it was kind of it took that next step and like we're in this world, it kind of gave us more opportunities to find new and interesting characters, especially in the bad guys. We saw a lot of them, and I really enjoyed that. Which is what they do a lot in the first one as well. As you see Jack Nicholson as a character, he's not just a bad guy with an axe. Like he goes through this transition and everything. And sometimes in this film, you're like, oh, I kind of feel bad for the bad guys a little bit. Yeah.
And then they eat someone.
Like, they eat someone. You're like, oh, no, never mind.
No, you're bad.
They're the bad ones.
That's it. Speaking of bad, most negative about the film.
Most negative for me was definitely the guy who replaced Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, it was super.
Yeah, it was just like, I guess, I understand that he's meant to be Jack Nicholson's character.
I see. It took me about halfway through to be like, is that what they're aiming for?
Is that what they're meant to
do?
do?
Is that what they're trying
it was
to
one
do?
of, I thought that thing as well. Because
like,
as soon as they went back, I was like, oh man, I fucking hope Jack Nicholson's in this. And I literally crossed my fingers and I was like, that would be fucking sick to have Jack Nicholson come back. And then I was watching it and then he was like talking and the guy was like, yeah, it's gonna be Jack Nicholson. And it was a guy that doesn't look like Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, he like barely looks like Jack Nicholson.
But he has a bit of a receding hairline.
Yeah, he had like this. They made his hair basically the same as Jack's character from the original. And I was just like,
they didn't even like.
Which is so jarring in the age of like face replacements and stuff like that.
The last few films would come from like making people younger, right?
Yeah. Cane Dogs, most negative.
Yeah, we sort of touched on it. I think jumping straight into all that supernatural stuff was really jarring for me. But what was worse, I think, was that there were zero rules that sort of get defined. And I think I've talked about this
they've all got
before.
The Shining, whatever that means.
Yeah, but it's like they kind of define it sometimes and sometimes not. Like you've got one of the girls who sort of turns out to be a bit of a bad guy and she's called like a pusher. And she can convince people to do things.
Which immediately reminded me of that Chris Evans film.
movie, Push.
Yeah.
But I was thinking that the whole way through. But then there are other people and they can just do whatever, I guess.
So it's basically they've got superpowers.
It's like, that, really. But it's undefined. And as a result...
It's like through this film, the kid, Abracadabra, like her name's Abra, right? Yeah. She has like telekinesis. She makes spoons touch the ceiling. She
can go into people's brains.
She can talk to people anything. like telepathically. She can like almost like, what's the thing that Luke does at the end of The Last Jedi?
Yeah, like
where he makes
force
himself
project.
force projection. Yeah. He can. She can
like-
do that. She can do, and she can like go into people's memories, read their memories, and like locate them. She can do all of those things, but she only never does like each of them once.
Yeah.
And then so can Evil Lady.
The problem with not defining those
Where's the
things is it links into my second negative, which is that the bear guys weren't intimidating. And the problem with that is if you don't define people's abilities in movies like this, the audience only knows who's stronger depending on who we're told is stronger at any given time.
We're going through a trend of unintimidating villains.
Villains, yeah.
Right? That's like a weird thing. I feel like a lot of people these days are like, it doesn't matter what they look like, as long as they do these intimidating things, then they should be intimidating. And it's like, that's not it.
She didn't do anything intimidating, because a lot of it is her walking around being like, I've got superpowers. But it's like, yeah, but we already saw you get your ass handed to you like 3 times. Why are you more intimidating now? Like, I didn't...
It makes me think of Joker from the Arkham games. He's a really not intimidating person. Like, he's like small of stature, really like lithe, skinny, long face, but he's a really intimidating character
because of his presence and the things that you know he's capable of.
Yeah, I feel like they like and also just like his visuals, especially in like the one where he's like sick and he's like diseased and stuff. It's like he's like a little bit gross to look at, and then that kind of like spurs on your distrust, dislike of the character. In this film, it's a very, very beautiful woman. For the entire film.
For the entire film, yeah. It's that, I guess, as my main negative, and I guess the other one is just that a lot of this story isn't anything if you haven't seen the first Shining film. It got a bit Inception-y for me, where it's like, anytime something happened, I'm like, oh, it's in someone's brain. Like, I didn't care. It's like, they're in a dream of a dream.
The bit with DiCaprio was strange, I'll give you that.
Yeah. But it's just like, anytime anything happened, I'm like, oh, they're in someone's brain, and that's in someone else's brain. And then nothing felt satisfying, because when they beat her, I'm like, well, did they win? Or is someone going to wake up?
And I kind of like, just a bit towards the end of this film, when they eventually go back to the hotel, I think that's when this movie kind of shined a little bit for me, no pun intended.
Hey.
They shined a little bit for me just because we had just watched The Shining, and it was like very much every single part about that place was exactly the same as the place from the original, including down to like the broken wood on the door where the axe chopped down and stuff like that.
I actually thought they were different. I actually think they're different because in the first one, I don't know if you remember it, but when they open their door into their little room, they go upstairs, and he didn't go upstairs in this one. And the bathroom door actually had both panels chopped off, but in this one, it only had like the little crack that
just so they could do
Jack
that,
Nicholson had
that
for the Here's Johnny
thing,
bit, but it actually got more damaged in the.
It did get more damage. Oh, I thought he just cut that through, and then because he put his hand through, and then his hand get cuts, and he leaves.
The problem this film is going to have is that, like you are right now, there are going to be people that are diehard fans of The Shining that are going to do nothing but notice mistakes. The whole way through this movie.
There were quite a few subtle things, and that's why I said like don't watch it straight after, because like I wouldn't recognize that the door is slightly different. But it is. Yeah, I've got.
But it's a different door.
You know, it's a different door, so fuck you, I'm the best. I've got 2 negatives that I want to bring up. First one is the ending was a bit of a cop out. Yeah, it seemed to pretty like tightly, tied off and neatly tied off is what I'm trying to say. It seemed a bit too neatly tied off, where it's the passing of the torch and everything's okay now. Yep, there's going to be more, but you can handle it. And now I'm a ghost.
Can't wait to make more money.
I had a ghost
especially in remembering the ending of the first one as well.
Exactly.
Very, very different ending.
Yeah, the ending's just like, what now? Kind of a thing. Yeah, whereas this one is kind of, I guess, a bit more Disney-fied in its ending.
Yeah.
And the other negative I have is the introduction of guns and how fatal they still are in this supernatural world. So like they just kind of knocked off the whole team in one scene just by using guns. So it kind of made the rest of the movie redundant, where they're like, oh, we've got to go to this hotel to really get rid of it.
Stand in a hallway and hold a gun.
Yeah, just shoot her in the head and be on your merry way. I wasn't a fan. That I think they could have been a more creative way of them
having to kill him,
or
like
if
in Van Helsing. Dip the crossbow in that holy oil, motherfucker.
Because they touched on it in the movie that they were kind of slightly cannibal as well. Like when the old guy died, and they're just like, "Oh, that's really sad," and then they started eating themselves. It would have been nice to see themselves like unwind each other as well, and it was like their own demise. Like they were
for their group to sort of get hungry on each other.
Yeah.
Anything would have made anything would have made them more intimidating, and also the way they sort of sucked souls was real boring. Like, just we've seen in so many movies now, if someone's died, their soul just escapes. It would have been cooler if it had to be more, and I know you're not a fan, but it would have been more intimidating for me if it was slightly more gruesome.
Yeah,
or at least grotesque, rather than just we'll breathe near them.
Sweet. All right, I guess that's where we're going to end this review of Dr. Sleep. Now it's time for us all to go to sleep, all in one big bed, because that's what we do here at the Film Slice Podcast.
I mean, you sleep in a bed and I sleep on the floor.
Biggie D, Angus, Lil D, Jordan, D. No D.
No D.
Wait, hold on. Where did we decide
The crew. The tree. Next week, we are reviewing...
Ford versus Ferrari.
Let's go to summer car. Sorry,
you got to get out of the toilet first.
That joke is no good.
Sweet, Ford versus Ferrari next week. We'll see you there. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Film Slice Podcast. You can reach us on Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, all that
Pinterest.
Jazz. Yeah, Pinterest. Yes.
Make sure you out no one.
Please do.
On Pinterest.
Pin us up, boys. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.